Hello everyone. Let's start with today's webinar. The webinar is on how real estate made simple, navigating agreements and resolving disputes. Real estate transactions can be really complex, with legal agreements and disputes often causing confusion and delays. Whether you're a buyer or a seller or an investor or just legal professional, it is really important to know why legal is important in real estate agreements and how one can avoid pitfalls and ensuring smooth transactions. In today's webinar, we'll break down essential real estate agreements, highlight common disputes, and provide professional and practical solutions to navigate them effectively. Let's stay tuned as we simply just talk on this topic on the legal side of a real estate. Before I we actually start talking about this issue, I would like to play a video which rests the case. I mean, what the rest the case is.
Welcome to Rest the Case, India's most trusted online platform for legal solutions. We are transforming the legal tech landscape, bridging gaps, and bringing legal support to anyone, anywhere, at any time. The legal field in India can be overwhelming. Courts are crowded, the search for the right legal help is confusing, and legal fees can be unpredictable. Many litigants face trust issues, uncertain about finding a lawyer who truly understands their needs. Rest the Case solves this by providing verified lawyer profiles, making it easier than ever to find trusted legal support.
We all are aware of that lawyers are not allowed to advertise themselves, right? But again, they do need something else going on from their routine practice, just so that there are people who actually know about them so that they can reach out to them without any hassle and easily.
That's where Rest the Case steps in. From consultations to document drafting and court representation, our digital platform brings legal expertise to your fingertips.
The legal ecosystem is a triangle: judiciary, litigant, and the lawyer. But we are touching the litigants, both B2C, retail, and B2B corporates, and the lawyers. So our tools will make life simpler for litigants, retail, by helping them reach the right lawyers. We are using GenAI, we are creating an improved matching system. And for B2B, which is for startups and mid-level corporates, we are helping them by doing tasks like document draft creation, also other aspects which relates to their internal process improvement.
Powered by cutting-edge technology, our platform leverages AI to match users with the most suitable lawyers. Based on expertise and location, from its start, Rest the Case has grown rapidly. With a presence across India, our mission is to provide legal accessibility everywhere, from big cities to smaller towns.
Our vision is to make legal support accessible and affordable for everyone in India. Our journey began in the lockdown, where suddenly people did not know what to do or where to find the right legal support. We then realized that this is not just a pandemic issue. This is an issue that people face every day and everywhere. That's how Rest the Case was born. We bridged the gap between a lawyer and a client to give them a reliable place to find the right legal help.
Rest the Case, because every case deserves the right support.
As we saw the video, how is the case is changing the legal legal process, and how important this legal process is, and now how affordable and easy to get that legal process. So let's start with today's webinar. I'm Advocate Ambuj. Hi everyone. So today's topic for the webinar is how real estate can be made simple, navigating its agreements, resolving disputes. So let's start with what are the common challenges in a legal from a legal perspective which real estate professionals are facing during their transaction. So the first and foremost, what we have observed is that whenever there's a breach of contract, one of the most frequent issues in real estate is a breach of contract when, I mean, either party maybe fails to meet the obligations specified in the contract. This can include missed deadlines or maybe incomplete payments or even delivering of the property in a condition that does not meet agreed upon standard which was mutually signed by both the parties. Some of the other One of the other issues is title issues, which is extremely common in today's scenario. Now, what is title issues? Title defects such as undisclosed liens, and maybe if there is any sort of already legal scenario going on that property, maybe it's related to the ownership of the property, which emerges during the due diligence and which ultimately delays the payment and handover of the property and transactions as well. Now, I would say even disclosure failures is one of the potential issues which we have seen in real estate. So, how it can be solved and what is exactly disclosure failure, where sellers are legally required to disclose known defects, maybe if the parking is not included or if there is any joint ownership of the property. A failure to do such can lead to post sale litigation for misrepresentation and fraud, which ultimately, I mean, hampers the deal. Plus, the parties now need to go to litigation and fight for the case and fight. Yeah. Also, we can say there are certain issues related to the boundary disputes. Now, boundary disputes, as in discrepancies over property lines, may arise due to outdated or inaccurate surveys and unclear legal descriptions, which happens a lot, if not in urban areas but in rural areas a lot. We have seen that. So it is, I mean, really important if we have a proper survey of the property, and if the buyer is getting the proper surveys and documents of the property related to the boundaries and the size of the maybe plot or flat or any other commercial properties. It it also, I would say, this I mean the issue part, it also includes financing and appraisal issues, where there's an issue between the appraisal value, or maybe if the government value is something which is maybe far 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 lower than what is it is being sold for, then it can complicate the finance, which ultimately leads to renegotiating. If it happens, great, then, or the deal is cancelled, the cancellation contract needs to be done after that. There are other, I mean, I would say, typical examples where contract disputes are happening in real estate deals. Now, typical contract disputes which are happening in real estate deals are maybe because of the ambiguous terms, where contracts are a bit vague. There is no proper definition, there is no proper description of the property, there is no proper payment schedule, when the payment needs to be received, when the payment needs to be done, the mode of payment, and maybe even if the property is on loan, if there is no NOC. In such scenarios, the terms needs to be extremely specific. Uh, there are other, I think, other possibility of failures as well, where either party is not able to perform what is written in the contract, which ultimately leads to more problem in that transaction. I mean, these were the realist cases which happens in almost 1 in 10 transaction real estate transaction deals. Now, what we have observed uh, is that there are certain essential elements of every real estate contract, which I would say a broker, a buyer, and a seller needs to apply, and which needs to be implemented as well before executing any agreement or maybe contract. Now, I would say I will start with accurate identification of all parties involved. It should not happen that if there is a joint ownership, only one owner is being involved and not the other party or not the other owner. It is really important to have the consent of all the parties involved, or maybe all the owners as well of that property. It also includes detailed description of the property, as I was already mentioning, that the property size, maybe boundaries of it really needs to be extremely specific, and should not be any sort of ambiguous information or maybe vague information. The terms of payment, how payment needs to be made, on what condition it needs to be made, needs to be extremely well drafted with the agreement. And what are the other terms and conditions of both the parties involved in that transaction. It is really important to have a clear and defined payment schedule, I would say, which includes the deadlines as well, and if there are any contingency clauses, which needs to be drafted so well that even if a layman is reading it out, he or she can understand what this actually means. This essential element also should include inclusion of dispute resolution mechanisms. Maybe if the deal doesn't go in a positive manner, then whatever amount which is already being paid, be it down payment, be it part payment, which is already being made by the buyer to the seller, if the things go in a negative way, then how it needs to be resolved, how soon it can be resolved, and where it needs to be resolved. These all things should be included in any sort of agreement which is related to the real estate. uh, Proper signatures and notarization to ensure legal enforceability, because I mean, if there is no proper signature or notarization on any of the real estate agreement, trust me, it is not legal. Maybe some people might just exclude it or maybe ignore the part about signature or legally signing it or getting it notarized, by thinking that since we understand the other parties' terms and conditions, the intentions, but it is, I would say, it's a danger if you are not doing it. It is really important to get it done. Now, we can also talk about the title and ownership issues, where how a deal gets cancelled because of title and ownership issues, and what are the common title defects that can arise during property transactions. I would say the common, which is extremely common, I would say, the defects which ultimately leads to the maybe cancellation of property transaction are undisclosed or unpaid mortgages. As I was already mentioning, if there is a loan on the property, it is really important that the seller should mention it to the buyer. Maybe X amount of loan is still pending with the bank regarding this property, and if you allow, I can get an NOC. You can pay directly to the bank, to my loan account, and rest of the money can be transferred it to me. Now this part is really important, maybe because if you are a buyer, you would like to know what all things are related to the property which I'm buying, maybe paying X amount. So it is important that unclosed, undisclosed mortgages and loans needs to be mentioned in the contract, not just verbally. uh, Maybe unknown legal heir making their claims regarding property. So that's why the general process, I would say, is what, whenever someone is selling their property, they put a public notice in l- regional and local language newspapers where it is being mentioned clearly that this property owner of that property is selling the property, uh, and the time duration is given till that time. If anybody, maybe legal air or maybe something which is related to the property, someone can come up and put an objection if they have a proof of that. So this is a process which needs to be followed, which also helps you to sell your property in a proper manner. And as a buyer, you should always ask the seller if this process is done or not. And I would say, as a broker, you should help both the parties get it done with this process included in it. Now, I would talk about how real estate professionals can actively address and resolve title disputes. As a broker, I would say you can conduct comprehensive title searches and obtain title insurance to identify and mitigate potential issues. It is really important if you are being a mediator to both the parties, you need to get all the processes done, maybe through yourself, or if any agent, or if through bank, they do the title search process. So it is really important if this gets done. For both the parties, it is important. Resolve discrepancies before closing, either through negotiation or legal action. Your always first priority should be whether it can be resolved without going to the court. If this can be resolved amicably and get it done without going to the court. Because if anything goes to the court, it takes time. Maybe, of course, the property deal is cancelled, but it takes time, and it hampers both the parties in general, and it somehow might hamper, as a broker, your image as well, if the properties are not clear and if your success rate is not that high. We can also talk about how, I would say, litigation can be avoided, and is it really avoidable, and how should professional prepare for it. Litigation is basically when there is a proper and legalized filing of a case from one party against the other party, and the case goes to the court. This is what the litigation is. It can be avoided, no doubt. It can be always avoided. Now, the reason I'm saying being an advocate is that if the contract, if the agreement is drafted in a manner where all the terms are extremely clear about what is being done, how it is being done, and what needs to be done in future, then I don't think there's a need for either of the party to go to the court. The only reason either of the party will would I mean go to the court is that if the other party is not ready to follow what is being written in a contract. That can be resolved in a litigation, no doubt in that. But I would say, instead of going till that level, as a broker, or maybe as a buyer, or as a purchaser, or as an investor, it is important that you should sign a memorandum of understanding where both the parties have already mentioned their terms and conditions regarding the property purchase, their intentions, and how the process would be carried forward. After that, I would say go for agreement to sale, where it is a, I would say, last informal process, I would say, because this is not notarized. I mean, it is not mandatory to notarize it, but it depends on the parties. From an advocate's perspective, I would say just get it notarized. But this also includes a bit detailed manner of MOU where the description of property is written, the payment schedule is written, how the payment would be made, to which account it would be made, what sort of property would be given, the description of the property is given, and the signatures are done. Now, the last part is sale deed. That is the last part I'm saying because here witnesses are also included. This is notarized, this is registered, and this is the last document which is required from the buyers, from the sellers and to buyer. And this is a formal and a legal document which says that the buyer is now the owner of the property. We can have a question and answer session if anybody would like to discuss what challenges maybe they are facing, or how the challenges can be avoided. As of now, if we don't have any questions or maybe issues, then I would say we can have Swapnil Kore with us. He will be talking a bit about our VCLO product, how Resdacase is solving this problem uh, without any hassle, and how it can be done. I would say from online process without the maybe buyer, seller, or investor or a broker uh, needs to go out. I think we have a question. Uh, there's a question from Mr. Avinash. What are the key legal agreements in real estate transactions? As I have already mentioned, three documents which are extremely important for any real estate transaction is: first is memorandum of understanding. It starts with MOU, where both the parties come, they discuss about the terms and conditions. Second is agreement to sale, which is a detailed manner of MOU, where everything is mentioned about the property, the payment schedule, and everything is written and well drafted. And the third and the last is a sale deed, which is, registered, and the witnesses are presented there. They sign the document along with the parties. Now, I would be handing it over to Mr. Swapnil. He would discuss about our project, VCLO. Swapnil, I think you are on mute.
ओके या थैंक यू अंबू सर, आपने बहुत सही तरीके से गाइडेंस दिया है कि क्या आज के डेट में रियल एस्टेट में प्रॉब्लम्स आ रहे हैं और किस तरीके से हम रेज द केस एज अ सॉल्यूशन प्रोवाइड कर सकते हैं, है ना। तो आज का ये सारा सेशन देखते हुए एक चीज़ तो समझ में आ रही है कि आज के डेट में रियल एस्टेट का जो भी लीगल काम होते हैं, राइट, उस वो बहुत ओवर प्राइस्ड हो चुके हैं, है ना। और वहाँ पे बहुत ज़्यादा मैनिपुलेशन आया है कि एक ही एग्रीमेंट अलग अलग प्राइस रेंज पे प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं आज के डेट में, है ना। तो रेज द केस ने इसके ऊपर बहुत अच्छे से एक सॉल्यूशन निकाला हुआ है। वो किस तरीके से है या क्या क्या चीज़ें उसमें हम आपको प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, ठीक है, वो भी थोड़ा सा हम आपको बताएंगे। अब इसमें हमने एक वर्चुअल चीफ लीगल ऑफिसर जो है एक सर्विस हम प्रोवाइड करते हैं। इसमें क्या होता है कि आपके जो भी रियल इस्टेट रिलेटेड लीगल रिक्वायरमेंट होती है, ठीक है, उसको हमने एक फिक्स प्राइसिंग में लेके आया है, राइट। इसमें आपका सेल्स डीड होगा या एमओयूज होगा, एनडीएज होगा, तो जो भी एग्रीमेंट्स रहेंगे, ठीक है, हम एक फिक्स प्राइस मंथली रखेंगे। उसमें आपको अनलिमिटेड जो है बेनिफिट्स प्रोवाइड करेंगे, ठीक है। तो जो भी हमारा प्राइस है इसमें हम 15,000 पर मंथ जो है वो चार्ज करते हैं, ठीक है। इसमें हमारा पैकेज आप 3 मंथ्स का ले सकते हो, 6 मंथ्स का ले सकते हो या 1 ईयर का ले सकते हो, राइट। इसमें आप क्या कर सकते हो कि जो हमारा वर्चुअल चीफ लीगल ऑफिसर, इसमें हम आपको सारा ऑफिस से जो है ड्राफ्टिंग या एग्रीमेंट जो है वो आपको कंप्लीट करवा के देंगे। आपको आपके एंड पे सिर्फ इतना ही पार्ट बचता है कि आपको जो है फिजिकली साइन वगैरह जो है वो आपके एंड पे लेना होता है। बाकी सारा काम जो है हम आपको ऑफिस से प्रोवाइड करते हैं। तो इससे क्या होगा कि आपको वन स्टॉप सोल्यूशन मिलेगा, राइट, एंड आपको एक फिक्स प्राइस में आपको अनलिमिटेड सर्विसेज भी मिलेगी, है ना। आज के डेट में इंडिया में ये जो चीज़ है वो बहुत कम लोग प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं, जिसमें रेज द केस इंडिया में टॉप 1 इसमें आता है ना। तो ये जो है हमारा वर्चुअल चीफ लीगल ऑफिसर, ठीक ठीक है। अब इसको जो भी ये चीज़ के लिए या सर्विसेज के लिए जिनको भी रिक्वायरमेंट है, हमने कमेंट बॉक्स में फीडबैक फॉर्म डाला हुआ है, वहाँ पे आप एक बार सारी चीज़ें मेंशन कर लीजिए। हमारी जो टीम है वो आपको जल्दी रीच आउट करेगी और वन एंड वन सेशन रख के आपको सारा गाइड करेगी कि किस तरीके से हम आपको हेल्प करेंगे, क्या करेंगे, राइट? या ओवर टू यू अंकुश सर।
Great. Thank you so much, Swapnil. So he has already mentioned what our product is and how it's gonna help maybe broker or buyer or seller, uh, maybe with respect to the real estate industry. So we are looking forward to hear one on one with you guys. Uh, this is how I conclude today's webinar. Thank you so much for joining. Thank you so much.